Hey there, welcome to One Take, powered by backers. Right?
No judging.
Yeah.
No judging.
The millennials are really changing that.
Is charm. No.
All success begins with desire.
I feel like I'm on fire right now.
OMG, baby, tell
Hey there, welcome to One Take, powered by backers. Justin Fox, Cory Warfield. Cory, thank you very much for joining me.
Justin, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure, and thanks for everyone tuning in.
Awesome. So I'm excited to have you. I think you probably, as far as the audience on LinkedIn, probably one of the largest audiences we've had as a guest on LinkedIn. So that's kind of cool. I think you're close, pushing about 300,000 people, connections on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm not there, but that's the neighborhood I'm playing in.
Cool. So I'll do a bit of an intro, I guess. It's interesting. I saw that it sort of started out as a waiter turned entrepreneur. Super connector. You've obviously got Cory Connects is sort of the site. You're a LinkedIn influencer. You work with leaders, salespeople, coaches, connectors, creators, investors, and other professionals who are active on the platform. So I won't get into the whole, kind of all about you, but we'll talk about it. Let's start there. So waiter turned entrepreneur, sort of influencer. Tell us your story. Let's start from the beginning. For those of us and those of the people watching that aren't familiar with who Cory Warfield is, who is Cory Warfield?
Yeah, well, thanks so much. And the first thing is that, it's definitely not marketing shtick. And I didn't bartend for a couple of years in college. About 22 years ago, I was homeless on the streets, and I got off the streets by washing dishes at a restaurant. And I spent 20 years from there. I never took that for granted. And I was able to make six figures as a restaurant worker. Sometimes I was working 2 jobs, 80 hours a week, but I did that for 20 years of my adulthood. So I was a servant for most of my life. And, I helped open some many $1 million concepts. I was in prime beef and selling $1,000 Bordeaux and Napa cab, but that was my life. And I kind of saw myself doing that forever. And I dabbled in management and restaurant consultant, and but that was my reality. And after about 10 years, it became stale, and I really started to resent it. And I spent many more years on that side of the professional world. And about 5 years ago, I just got sick of it. And specifically, I got sick of never knowing when I was going to work or how much money I was going to make as a result of it. And I had friends that had kids, and they could never get childcare when they were working at nights. And every holiday you would told you were working, and then you'd either make no money or last minute they wouldn't need you. And it was just this really crazy world that I was way too complacent with. And companies were starting to get fined big money for violating these labor laws around scheduling. And I realized there wasn't a good solution. So I just went crazy. I put my life savings into starting a company, read some books, watched some YouTube, and I started a technology company called Shedwell. And 5 years later, we're in some of the national quick serve chains. We've got some restaurant groups that use our mobile apps and websites to stay compliant and to staff properly. And we use machine learning and a little AI to help optimize schedules. And it's been an interesting journey with that company. But the way that I was able to be successful, and after my life savings were gone, the way I was able to raise enough money to scale a tech company and things like that is by taking LinkedIn very seriously. And so I started talking about myself and my journey, and that, I'd been a waiter for so many years and decades, and that people kind of got to see me build this tech company from the ground up. And years later, we've got thousands of people that follow that company on the site. We get companies that come inbound, and we try to stay fairly relevant. But it's been my following there and the reception that I got that got our name out there and got the company some of that exposure. And so people started coming to me wondering how I grew so quickly on LinkedIn and how I was getting the millions of views and things of that nature. And invariably, people were not only wanting me to teach them how to do it, but also have me start to promote them as well. And so that led me into this world where I've helped over 100 companies launch and scale. I'm a co-managing director at Founder Institute. So I'm always perpetually helping earlier stage founders kind of navigate those waters that I went through. And then more so than that, I've gotten involved in a number of other companies, kind of from the 0 to 1, 1 to 10 inception phases. And so now I'm doing things like we have a crypto company that's helping keep your data private. That's scaling up pretty quickly. We have a the first B2B influencer marketplace called Influencer Active. We've been live for some months. We've got over 100 influencers, thousands of companies that reach out and have us promote their new products. Cory Connects, we're actually gamifying LinkedIn growth and recruiting. So we've got a video game that'll be going live. And so I just can't help it anymore. Like I get involved with things
It's like
that I think are really
it's like
cool.
a snowball effect kind of thing, right?
Yeah, it's been really interesting. One of my passion projects that I love is out of Toronto, Canada. We're called RTG Group. We've already helped feed over 1 million meals to people that couldn't afford them and couldn't access them. And so it's been this really interesting kind of.
That's where I am, by the way, Toronto. You're in Chicago, right? Yeah.
I am. I'm just south of you, and I recognize the accent. You know, I've been up to Toronto and the GTO a lot.
We always think we don't have an accent. So do we have an accent?
Absolutely, but it's subtle.
Okay.
It's not the full-on Canadian accent, but
right.
I'll go up there. We'll have some twofers, and we'll go to Timmy's and get some Tim. But yeah, so that's what I'm up to these days. It's just really having fun doing things that I think are meaningful.
That's awesome. I love that you were up in Toronto, and you said with RTG Group, and you fed homeless, right? 1,000 homeless, or just meals?
We're still day in, day out. Yeah, we make these organic vegan meal bars, and they've given over 1 million of them out so far in the GTO.
Okay, cool. And so Shedwool, SHEDWOOL. So that's kind of interesting. So obviously, I think we're very similar in age, sort of looking at the time. So you're early 40s, right? So a number of you, we don't have to get into specific dates or anything, but so, you know, obviously had a career. I think I've had similar in the sense of, you know, hated working for others, just saw the way the world wasn't really what you wanted it to be and saw that you could make a change, make a difference, right? So you start a tech company, which is kind of stepping out of, you know, maybe your, you know, the comfort level or zone that you were in before. And that obviously does well. Then, so I'd like to really talk a little bit about the influencer side, not so much the influencer side, but if you could give, let's say, 3 tips to somebody, and obviously you're working, you said 100 different companies, working a lot of, you know, professionals, leaders sort of grow their audience or grow their influence. What would be some things that you would say to people that can kind of emulate what you've done, you know, to maybe not at such a scale, but can emulate? Like, what were some of the keys to your success that got you to where you are?
Yeah, so that's the right question to ask, and very few people ask it. And I think I have an answer that'll help some of the people listening to this broadcast. But the first is a concept of the law of reciprocity. And so what I do find is a lot of people, you know, expect that if they build this, they will come, or if they've just put stuff out there, and if they just talk to their audiences, and so many people, they just want to add value. People aren't on a platform like LinkedIn for value, right? The value is give me a job or buy what I'm selling, right? That's the value. Right. So all these people show up and they want to teach you something. I can't, you know, I'm 43 years old. I'm still somewhat new to this.
You're literally the exact same. But 78, if you're going to go that age, 78. Okay. Same.
High school class. And
I looked at your thing, and literally 96 the same. So I was like pretty much the exact same age. There you go.
You make it look good as well. But I think so. It's that law of reciprocity and that law of engagement. And if I want 100 likes on a post of mine, you know, anymore, I don't need to go out and like 100 posts, because there are people around the world that are very supportive. But at a certain point, you know, the concept was, if I wanted 20 people to like a post of mine, I'd go like 20 people's posts, right? And it seems so simple, but so few people do that. And it's truly this karmic, you know, you get what you put out type of a thing.
Okay.
I stopped doing videos at some point because I realized I wasn't watching anybody else's. I didn't have time for it. And people started reaching out and saying, we miss your videos, please do videos. So I started keeping my videos to only 30 seconds. I called them Value in 30s. I made a Value in 30 every week, and those got millions of views and frankly made me quite a bit of money in the process. But because I said, you know what? If I only make 30-second videos, then I have no excuse. I'll watch anybody else's 30-second video, and we can all use this hashtag, and hundreds of people started to use the hashtag. And so that was fun, right? And to me, that's kind of an extension of that law of reciprocity. If I'm going to put videos out, I got to watch other people's videos. If I can't spend 5 minutes, right? 5 minutes adds up really quickly. And an hour only has so many 5-minute windows, but 30 seconds, right? No one's too important. Richard Branson went to space the other day, came back and could have watched some 30-second videos afterwards, right? Like it's that doable. So I'd say the first one is the law of reciprocity, and I can take it to a slightly more granular perspective. The recommendations, very few people have a lot of recommendations on there, and then you go and you see how many they've given, and it's the same, right? They haven't given a bunch, they haven't gotten a bunch. How many of us have done great business with 100 people in our lives? Why not go and tell the world those 100 people are good people to do business with?
Right.
It's right now. Imagine those 100 people getting a message that said, Jason, Jack, or John just said that you're an amazing person to do business with. Imagine the thought process of that person, not at least saying, well, maybe I should write one for him too.
Right.
Not going to happen right now. Maybe a couple people, there's some people in this world that are less considerate than others, but right. If 60 people decide, well, you know what, that was really nice. I'm glad he took those couple minutes out to make me look good. I'm going to do the same for him. And so again, law of reciprocity, right? What you put out is what you get. So that's a big one. I would say the other thing that people do very wrong, and it's most people most of the time, and it's not malicious. It's just a matter of ignorance, but people speak at their audiences. People show up and go, hey, let me tell you something cool. And one of the examples I give often is people's posts quite literally, and I'm not calling anybody out, but there are people that show up on LinkedIn, a double-digit billion-dollar platform with hundreds of millions of professionals, and they'll show up and say, here's what you need to do to have a successful career. Get enough sleep, eat a good breakfast, and work out. There's not a person on the platform that needed
tips,
that.
Right?
Yeah, right. Oh, is that what I should have slept last night?
What the fuck? Why didn't my parents tell me that? Right? Yeah.
If I would have just had breakfast today, I could have made that $1 million deal, right? It's not. And so don't talk to your audience, especially not like they're stupid. And so what I tell people is you can use the same messaging and just learn how to talk with your audience, not at them. If that's your epiphany, and if you never know you should sleep at night, wake up and eat a meal, and maybe do a couple sit-ups if you didn't like how your belly looked, then you can do the same post, and you can show up, and instead of telling people, hey, I'm smart, you're stupid, why don't you sleep? You show up and you go, wow, at my age, I just really doubled down on the importance of a good night's sleep.
Right.
As entrepreneurs, a lot of times we don't prioritize that. We stay up a little too late on our phones, and then it messes with our sleep. Last night, I decided I wasn't going to look at my phone for an hour before bed. I haven't slept that good since I was a kid. And I would love to hear from all of you amazing people. What other tips do you have that I might have been missing? Right? Same thing.
Conversation starter, kind of more experiential than just like tell, right?
Yeah. Everybody loves to be asked their opinion. Everybody loves to give you a little tip. So if you show up and you say, hey, let me tell you something, like Jim Carrey's Fire Marshal Bill, people are going, nope, no thanks. Right? I'm not here to be told anything. Right?
Let me tell you something. That's literally that. I had a day camp counselor that literally was the spitting image of Fire Marshal Bill. And we'd all be like, kids would be like, hey, and anyways, that's side joke, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it. So that's two of the three. I think the law of reciprocity, right? And just that flipping switch between talking at your audience and speaking with them.
Right.
And then the third thing, and it's something that some people do very well, but you see so many people trying to do it and they do it terribly, but aligning yourself with some influencers, right? You find somebody like a Cory Warfield with 280,000.
Hey, Cory, you want to align, and let's do a podcast. Oh wait, we're doing it. Right.
And so Justin, you get it, right? And it's right. I might have a lot of followers, I might get a lot of engagement, but I might not notice somebody that likes and comments on a post of mine. Some of my posts will get 500,000 views and 1,000 people will comment on it. I might not see that. You do it a couple times, I'm probably going to see that. You do that for a few weeks, I'm going to start to say, hey, this guy Justin's been really supportive. Let me take a quick look at his profile.
Right.
And if it's optimized, and if I can see you're a decent person that doesn't want to, kill half of the world's population, and you're not out there making more enemies than friends or something, then I can say, let me give this guy a follow. And if your profile says something like, hey, this is what I can do, I help podcasters get more downloads, you and I might both say, all right, let me connect with this person. We both have podcasts. If somebody says, I might buy what you're selling, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to let them know what I'm selling, right? They just opened that door, gave me the invitation. So, but aligning with the influencers, and when I say that, I say this, it could be people you're never going to get on the radar of, right? You might decide that you want to be known as Richard Branson's best friend. And the guy's got 1 million followers, and he's never, ever, ever going to notice that you or I exist, right?
Right.
But you start showing up on his content and you say stuff like, hey, Richard, it was awesome seeing your accomplishment yesterday. Keep up the good work, right? Right. Next time you post, you say something like, I remember you've been saying that for a while, but I don't always think that you do need to, to do everything so big, right? And then he posts something and you say something like this, hey, I'm looping in 3 friends, at Justin, at Toby, at Jessica. You guys might like this post today, right? And you just start building this familiarity because, again, Richard Branson's never going to know this, right? Elon Musk isn't even on LinkedIn, but he's on Twitter. He did the same thing with him there, right? You engage with these people not to ever get on their radar, but because you want their audience to start seeing your name, right? And you're not being deceptive. You're not saying, hey, it was great to see you in person. Hey, it was great to see you. I was tuned into the TV, right? But suddenly people start to see your name next to mine, and there are people that do it shamelessly with me. I'm talking about it on podcasts, and people probably hear me say to do it. They come do it to me, and I have no problem with it. But it's like, just start showing up in the right circles, right?
Yeah.
And being somewhat supportive and somewhat intelligent, and don't be a jackass and don't be a shitty person, right? Like it's that simple. And sure enough, next thing you know, you're on the radars of people. I've got a business partner of mine who's become a friend, but he's got 3 million followers on LinkedIn. He's getting, I think, 20 million views a week on his content. He's making huge money doing it in the process. And he did that by just finding cool stuff and sharing it out on LinkedIn, right?
Interesting.
It's just all about that law of reciprocity. And now he doesn't engage with anybody but me anymore because he doesn't have to, right? But he used to engage with everybody, right? And so I think it's formulaic. And I think when people understand it, it is computer science, it is an algorithm. It's a moving target to a degree, but it's also very predictable and forecastable. There's nothing you can't accomplish.
It's awesome. So the reciprocity, I love the whole starting the conversation, right? Getting people sort of talking, and then the idea there, that's kind of cool, where you kind of almost create your own conversation in their comment section, right? And you start to you're showing, it's almost like you're like like you said, you're part of their friend group. They may or may not have ever met you, but it's kind of, you're there and everyone else starts to associate. That's amazing.
Well, I'll give you a quick aside to just hit that one home a little bit more. Years ago, and I probably had I don't know how many, but a couple thousand followers on LinkedIn. Nobody knew who I was. My post didn't get any engagement. Gary Vaynerchuk posted something that I thought was pretty stupid. I think it was something like, you're all lazy and don't work hard. And at the time, I think I'd been working 100 hours a week for years without paying myself. And so I think I just jumped in and said something along the lines of like, that, that's a pretty ignorant thing to say. You don't know who's reading, whatever it is, right? That comment got, I think it was probably almost 1,000 likes on the comment, right? Hundreds of comments on my comment. Some people are really agreeing with me. Other people are, how dare you, go
question
against our
the Gary V. How dare you question our savior, right?
Yeah. And it was just phenomenal. And from that, I got some followers and some engagement. My stuff started doing kind of well. And so years later, right, this is probably a year ago now, I was talking to somebody. So I've been following your stuff for years, and I appreciate that. Thanks for the support. How did you find out about me? They said, I think it was on one of Gary V's posts. Oh, okay. And they remembered that comment, right? And again, it had probably been a year or two. And they said, yeah. And they said, it actually took me a long time to realize that you and Gary weren't like
didn't know each other.
Yeah, right. Like that was totally. And so it's so easy to do that, right? Just showing up in the circles you want to be known in.
Awesome. So let me shift it a little bit. I thought there's 2 things that you touched on there. One is the monetization, which I think is interesting. I'm not even aware of how that works, but so I'd like to maybe touch on that, because you're saying, the monetization of sort of LinkedIn and your followers. But just out of curiosity, like now that you've got all these different things, like what do you do for your downtime, like fun, enjoyment, kind of that to get away from things? Like a lot of entrepreneurs, like you just said, forget to eat, forget to sleep, or are so busy working, doing things. Like what do you do to kind of unwind or make sure that you have that time in your life?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, the biggest one is just daily meditation and prayer. I thrive on that. But you don't work this hard to not enjoy it, right? And so
Right.
I've got a season membership to the local amusement park, Six Flags Great America, go all the time. They've got a water park. I get out on the lake here. I rented a boat recently, taking a helicopter rides to escape rooms. Like, now that the world's reopened, I'm doing everything for fun.
Do you have
And you know, I
kids?
try and
Kids?
so not biologically, but
Okay.
yeah, I've got three in my
Okay,
life.
cool.
And so yeah, and you put up a pool in the backyard and just right.
Nice.
I feel like I work so much, but I've learned to just incorporate it into some of the stuff that I'm doing, that I can turn it off and just take a few hours whenever I
Right.
want. And then other than that, I think for me, it was transformative and life-changing to realize that you can take an hour off here and there, and that you can reset. And just, for me, meditation is absolutely everything. So for me, it's like, I love going to the theme park and the roller coasters, but I also get just as excited to turn my phone off and go meditate for half an hour.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple young boys, and we go to the zoo all the time. So we got a zoo membership. Yeah, just kind of like a couple hours, just walk around. I think being your own boss as well, like you talked about early on, like working long hours. You can't take, especially if you're in sort of wait staff, or and you said servant, you can't take 2 hours mid shift and just fuck off and go do whatever you want. But you know, we've all learned you can midday just kind of close your laptop, go hang out with your kids for an hour or two, and you know, just hopefully you don't have any meetings scheduled, but you know, just figure out what you want to do, right? And kind of, and in your case, meditate. That's, yeah, I love that. I love. So what, I guess, would you say most people should get into this space, in the sense of starting something, doing something, not kind of falling into the 9 to 5 kind of rat race that we all basically all were, for the most part, accustomed to almost prior to COVID. But you know, now COVID's kind of, I think, opened or shed some light on there's alternatives. What are your thoughts?
Oh, 100%. I think, you know, the adage is you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I think another quote people say is that, you know, 100% of people fail at the exact same time, and that's right before they get started. Right, like that's the only guaranteed way.
Right.
And you learn so much on the journey. But I do see, I see the economies shifting big time. I see the gig economy.
Right.
I see the shared economy. I see the barter economy in a big time way. And then I think just cryptocurrency. And again, I mean, I'm a crypto investor at this point. I think I hold, you know, 10 alt coins in my wallet. And then, you know, we're launching our own as well, the Infor token.
Cool.
And so this is my world now. But I think the blockchain is going to change everything. A friend of mine, Justin Pesci, has a company called Cory. They've got over 1 million users already with their freelancer marketplace. They've kind of built a gamified community around it. It's super cool.
What's it called? Tory? Like TORY or I?
TORRE. And it's
Tory.
fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And they're one of those teams where they decided a few months ago they were going to raise $10 million, and they raised it in a week from like the founders of some of the companies every single person listening to this uses daily. Like they're going to change the world. But to me, it just signals that freelancer, right, that gig economy, that birthing new enterprise is really here to stay.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Backers is. We're an online, essentially crypto stock, so security token offering platform, right? So we basically tokenize security. So we're a regulated dealer here in Ontario. We facilitate companies raising capital. We tokenize the assets and create a secondary market. But it's interesting with Tory. How are they utilizing the blockchain? So I mean, we could talk about blockchain all day long till we're blue in the face. I hold some altcoins. Theta is probably my favorite, sort of the video sharing platform out of Asia. Theta token, Theta Fuel. But where do you see, like, what's Tory doing in the space? Because a lot of people understand the finance side, you know, like the security side or finance, and Bitcoin, obviously the currency side. How are they utilizing it from a rewards or more, you said, gamification side of things?
Well, so they've gamified it, and I think they're less blockchain. I think I may have conflated the two. What we're doing at Information is a blockchain play. We've actually created our own technology that can take any and everyone's data and privatize it. So your and my data will no longer be accessible to anyone, right? And if and when we want our data shared, because there's a reason that we want it to be, and it might just be financial or it might be otherwise, but we can enjoy in the profits of sharing our own data. And so that company is INF, the number 4, and then mason.com. We've also got our inf4.finance site is where we're doing our pre-sale, but we're built on the Salesforce architecture. I think it's the S3 or layer security that Bitcoin's built towards. My technical co-founder there is an absolute genius that's been working on this for a couple of years. And being that you're in this space, you might be familiar with the swap protocol. Did you see swap?
Right, Uniswap?
No, so swap, SWAPP, they just announced at the Bitcoin conference in Miami, and they're doing data privacy as well. It took us by surprise. We had never heard of them before. But so they sold out of their pre-launch, and then they got in big trouble here with the SEC, which I think that's your world, the Canadian version, right? Just the compliance side. But so we've taken ours a step further, and I think they're saying we're not a utility token, we're a security token. So we've got that designation. But I would love, based on who you are and what you do, I'd love your thoughts on maybe our white paper and explainer video on that site, because there may be some opportunity there. And we're definitely looking to get into the Canadian market. And
What's
then with
the
Cory,
site? What's the site? You said
information. So INF, the number 4, the number 4, and then Mason, MATION.com.
Okay, and so it's more around the data, right? So personal data. So you're securitizing or essentially, securitizing the data on the blockchain. And then you've got some sort of like switch or authority or kind of gate that you can turn off or on in certain instances for certain third parties.
Correct.
Is that the idea?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. That's very cool. And so you guys have your own token that you guys are offering. Who are you offering? Are you offering that in the US right now, or?
So we're live on mainnet, and some of this you'll hear
that's
my
on Ethereum, right? So it's like an ERC20 type token.
Precisely, and you're already proven that you know more about this space than I personally do. My team, I think, can answer all the questions on your level, but I love where you're at, and it'll tell you all that on the site. It's got all the tech specs and all that.
Cool.
But so the concept effectively, we have our DeFi, so we've tokenized that, but people don't need to be token holders in order to monetize their own data or to keep it secure and private from now on. So that project is it's been a couple years in the making, and we're literally in the very early stages of launching as well. So we started to sell some tokens on mainnet, and it's interesting because most of the people that want to participate don't know enough about cryptocurrency, and so trying to
it's like a whole education process, right? Like it's, hey, this is what we do, but we do it on this. And they're like, I don't even understand that. So it's like that's one of the things that adoption, right? We're trying to figure out is to get people like past the fear of, oh, it's Bitcoin. I don't even know what Bitcoin is. Fuck it. I don't want it. It's a scam. It's like, well, we're talking about the blockchain. It's completely different. But it's definitely a new world, a new kind of space that we're in. So how have you found that? Not to cut you off, I apologize, but how have you found that adoption, or like trying to convince, that's the wrong word, not trying to convince people, like what is a method that you guys are using to kind of create that, I'll use what you just said earlier, that conversation to kind of bring people in. So it's not just tell, it's more like, hey, what are your thoughts? Like, how have you guys found that, or how has that worked out, or what have you guys done to kind of facilitate that?
So I've decided to stop educating people at all. I think what I want from my
stop telling anything, right? If you don't know, you don't know. Forget it, right?
Well, but really,
no, seriously,
truly, that's it, right? I want this. I want this savvy. No, we're really excited, and people love what we're doing. And I was talking to a guy who's, what's that?
No, I said it kind of cut out there for a second. Yeah, it's okay. Are you okay? Can you hear me? It's all good. It's all good. Okay. This is one take. Yeah, just keep on going. Perfect. We just keep going. Yeah.
Oh, I know it. Yeah, I love your style. But so I was talking to a guy who's become a friend, and he started a payroll company that's a many billion-dollar company now. And so he's still chairman of the company, but he took a multi-billion-dollar exit, and he's kind of just doing his thing. And he's in the finance space, and he's a very wonderful person, and we're very aligned spiritually. And so we were having a great long talk about life. And I mentioned what I was doing. At first he asked me about the LinkedIn thing and how I grew so quickly. So then he said, oh, and I looked, and it looked like you're doing something with blockchain. I said, yeah, and I mentioned cryptocurrency. And he literally said, whoa, whoa, whoa. And he didn't want to talk. He didn't even want to hear the word cryptocurrency. Right. And it was a huge aha moment for me, because not only did he not even want to talk about it, he said that he doesn't trust it, and he thinks it's the most, he said he thinks it lacks transparency. And I was really getting into learning about the blockchain and smart contracts and all these things. And like, I'm thinking, everything I know is the most transparent.
That's the whole point of it, right?
It's like quite literally, but to realize that this very intelligent, very successful, financially driven capitalist, that was his visceral reaction, and there was no changing his mind. That's when I realized, wait, if I can't change this guy's mind, how am I going to change the mind? And so I remember I was the guy who didn't want anything to do with Bitcoin almost until it hit $60,000, right? And so I get it too. And so what I've decided is there are enough people in this world that love blockchain, love crypto, and especially that want their data to be private, that if we just let those people know that we're doing it and let them really geek out on it, it's like our hood is open. Come take a look at the tech, right? And I don't want people to go, well, what does this mean? Or what does that do? Or no. If you get tech, if you get what we're doing, come take a look, you're going to love it. And I think from there, the K factor is such where people that don't necessarily know about it will hear about it from the people they know and trust that do, and that's when they'll probably start to get involved, and we welcome them. But again, I'm going to run the other way for the education piece.
Yeah, it's that whole adage. I think it's, you talk about the sort of adoption curve, right? You've got those really early adopters, and I think a lot of businesses that are in this space, it's going to be very difficult. Like you said, they should just stop with the education and almost go to the early adopters, and then as an industry kind of allow those early adopters to kind of slowly, like you said, educate their friends and family through their existing trust, right? That's something that we struggled with, I think, early on too, was we were trying to explain to people, so what's equity crowdfunding, right? Okay, so regulations say retail investors, what's a retail, like it's like, and then it's like, oh, and then we use blockchain, and then people are just like, it just, everything goes over their head, right? So we've found there's
think about it like this,
people, right?
Well, yeah, Google never needed to convince people they needed the internet, right? Google never needed to say, hey, there's all this information, and if you just, right? Google didn't go out and try to teach people what HTML was or what HTTPS is or what a secure, right? They just, hey, if you want to use the internet, this is a great way to do it. Right. And they've got billions of users, right? We're trying, kind of saying the same thing. If you want your data secure and maybe want to monetize it, that's up to you. We're doing it in a very secure, very private manner, and everything is on a blockchain, so that don't take our word for it, right?
It's secure, you can see it right there, right? Transparency, obviously that's amazing. So, well, Cory, I really appreciate you taking this time. Definitely need to reciprocate. It's great connecting with you as well. So, I mean, we're connected. I'd love to see a way that we can kind of work together. So we'll have to connect offline and sort of see how that goes. But where can people find you? Obviously, LinkedIn is one, right? Cory Warfield. Any other?
Yeah, I'm CoryConnects.com. So people can find me at CoryConnects.com. Cory Connects on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We have a business page. My team's very responsive. So if people are looking to get in touch with me, I don't respond personally to anything on any Cory Connects channels, but it will all escalate to the right people and often to me. So that's a good way. I also do try to follow all my followers back on LinkedIn. So if people do want to engage there, go ahead and follow my profile, and I will be following you back.
And that's how we connected, right? That's how we connected, through LinkedIn. So appreciate you doing this. And how about TikTok? I ask everyone.
I'm there.
Are you there?
I am. I'm there. A friend and partner of mine has 3 million followers there. And I send everyone to her because she's got it figured out. I haven't figured out how to do anything but embarrass myself there yet. But I'm there. I think I'm there as Cory Connects as well. And definitely if people want to see a much lighter side of me, or perhaps a more embarrassing side of me, I encourage them to go. I had 1,000 followers there, and right before I could go live, I lost a couple. So now I don't have 1,000 followers, so I can't go live. So maybe the show will push me over the edge.
Yeah, well, I started it, so don't look at it, but it's Justin Fox. And about a year ago, I did a bunch of videos, like you said, lighter side, crazier side. I think a little too, maybe too much. But anyways, I sort of got off it for a bit, but definitely looking at ways to kind of get back in it, whether it's through backers or some of the other businesses that we work with. But that's cool that you're on there. But are you on there personally, or it's more through the Cory Connects?
No, I'm very, very much personally on there on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, and
cool.
and Justin, I'm glad the world got to hear our first chat, but I do welcome a second one behind closed doors. You're awesome, and I look forward to it.
Okay, cool. I appreciate it. Thanks, Cory. Well, everyone else, this is One Take, powered by backers, Justin Fox, Cory Warfield. I always point the wrong way, so I'm not sure where it's going to show up on the video. But everyone else, thank you very much for joining me. Cory, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys again very soon. Hey there, welcome to One Take, powered by backers. Right?
No judging.
Yeah.
No judging.
And the millennials are really changing that.
Is charm. No.
All success begins with desire.
I feel like I'm on fire right now.
OMG, baby.